Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, December 9th, 2014. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The Caribbean Aqua Terrestrial Solutions CAT program, operated by the German Development Corporation, was officially launched here today at the Mariqua Learning Resource Center. The terrestrial component of the program focuses on adaptation measures to climate change in agriculture and the ridge-to-reef approach with activities concentrated in the Mariqua Valley. Principal advisor for the program, Eva Neher, says they are working in 8 countries including Guyana, Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, St. Kitts Nevis, Jamaica, Belize, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
We are trying to find the Caribbean solutions to the challenges that we are facing. So that means we try to not to come up with solutions from elsewhere, but really go out and talk to farmers and to farmers' organizations, together with the ministries, to find really solutions that can work, best practices that can be implemented, and then share with other countries in the region, because the situation is often very similar. So what we did is, you heard about it already, the ridge-to-reef approach. We have the 2 components, and the marine component they started earlier. So they selected one marine protected area in each country where they are working, and then we followed. And we said, well, it only makes sense to work in the hinterland of that marine protected area because of the ridge-to-reef topic. Whatever you're doing upstream up to the ridge, all activities, if it's the farmer, if it's housing, everything that happens through the runoff, and that is mainly through rain and then rivers, it comes into the sea. And especially on small islands where the ridge and the reef are closely, not that far from each other, there's a very strong linkage between those.
She says the idea is to share best practices and knowledge about adaptation measures.
Information, make it available, and that's where we are mainly focusing on a collaboration with the communications department of the Ministry of Agriculture, so that really there are tools to inform everyone about what is going on, how can the individual farmer improve his situation, his farm. That's where we want to go. And so for all these activities, we have a plan, we have operational plans, we have ideas what we want to do, and some of them are already on its path.
The Ministry of Agriculture is in the process of seeking advice on how it can develop a comprehensive insurance strategy for recovery post-disaster. Speaking at the launch of the Caribbean Aqua Terrestrial Solution Program today at the Mariqua Learning Resource Center, Minister of Agriculture Saboto says, with the vigor of climate change and the haphazard manner in which people can be impacted and devastated so quickly, policymakers now have to look beyond the annual projections.
We have to do so as we seek to work with the private sector to address the fundamental issue of crop insurance. Because if we do not do that, at some point in time, the impact is going to be too heavy for the private sector and the public sector to bear as it pertains to the types of recoveries that we want to take place in the shortest possible time.
Meanwhile, Caesar says there needs to be a renewed interest in the Ministry of Agriculture to transfer the knowledge to farmers about the impacts of climate change on the sector.
Definitely, certain commodities would be devastated year after year because of the uncertainties of the weather. The intensity of the rainfall that we had in December, if there was a vegetable farmer in St. Vincent and the Grenadines who was not producing vegetables on their shade house, the intensity of the rain was definitely going to impact negatively on the production of those vegetables, because we know what the intensity of the rainfall would have done to the blossoms and to some of the fruits, no matter what stage they were on the plant.
Caesar says the Ministry of Agriculture and all stakeholders have to take another look at the sector and decide what portions of land space will be dedicated to crops which are climate change resilient.
Here is where I want to put down my first marker. Because there are many farmers who will tell you, I was growing bananas on this piece of land on the Sanssouci estate long before you were born, Saboto. But that was long before the vagaries of climate change and the uncertainties would have started to take deep root. So not only will we have to come up and have a strategic program to grow more crops which are climate change resilient, but also to grow certain crops in certain agri-ecological zones, certain areas where we will have greater certainty so that we can produce and be more productive within the agricultural sector in those areas year-round.
Investment in a child's early years is said to be a powerful economic strategy with great returns for the future. That's the view of Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Shong, speaking at a workshop held today on the dissemination of evaluation findings under the Early Childhood Outreach Project.
Investments done in line with the basic principles of neuroscience indicate that providing supportive conditions for early childhood development is more cost-effective than attempting to address the consequences of early stress and adversity. The evidence also suggests, ladies and gentlemen, that the provision of a high-quality early childhood environment enhances the quality of a society's human capital by promoting individual competencies and skills for participating in civil society and the workforce.
According to the Shong, overall research has suggested that countries which provide high-quality universal programs for young children tend to outperform countries which do not have well-organized early childhood development programs.
It further points to the importance of having children exposed to appropriate early childhood experiences from birth, especially children from poor and vulnerable backgrounds. Many of the children who live in unfavorable conditions in this country, ladies and gentlemen, would not have had the opportunity to be engaged in structured early childhood programs had it not been for this ECHO program. The challenge for the staff was to develop appropriate strategies for early stimulation which could be used to help the children develop to their full potential and not become a burden on society, and also to avoid a repeat of the intergenerational cycle of poverty.
Police officer Hanif Johnson was yesterday, December 8th, ascended to the Holy Order of Priesthood within the Diocese of the Windward Islands. The ordination of Deacon Johnson to priesthood was held at the St. George's Cathedral in Kingstown. John is a graduate of the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill, Barbados, and holds a Bachelor in Theology. He also holds a second-class Honours Associate of Science degree from the UWI Open Campus SVG. In delivering the sermon at yesterday's ordination, Everton Weeks told Johnson that he has been appointed by Christ Jesus as an ambassador to the world, and he must represent Christ's interest above all else.
Hanif, as a priest, you will stand first before God, then men. Using soccer language, you will be the link man, the midfield player between the divine and the human. And what does that mean practically? It means long and loving periods of prayer, of priestly and pastoral prayer for God's people, your flock. It means frequent times of deliberate withdrawal from the busy pursuits of your work and vicissitudes of life, in order that you may be still and know that God is.
Weeks further explains the various functions of a priest to Johnson, which he says include leading, caring for, feeding, guarding, and teaching.
Hanif, People may not remember your sermons, but they will never forget how you cared for them. Lord, when did we see you hungry, sick, naked, hospitalized, imprisoned, and care for you? When you did it to the least of the members of my family, you did it to me. And if you are to be what J. Perini calls the human face of God to his and your people in the parish.
The ordination was administered by Bishop of the Diocese of the Windward Islands, Calvert Leopold Friday, during which time Johnson took the solemn vows to serve to the best of his ability.
You look for Christ and all others and be ready to help and serve them, serve those in need.
I will, by the help of God.
Will you be diligent in prayer, both in public and in private, in the recitation of morning and evening prayer, seeking God's grace both for yourself and for others, and offering all your labors to God through the mediation of Jesus Christ, and in the sanctification of the Holy Spirit, and in such things as may increase your love for God.
I will, by the help of God.
This country is said to be making efforts to strengthen its policies to protect women and girls against violence. More stories on the local scene when SVG-TV News continues. Don't go away. This country is said to be making efforts to strengthen its policies in the fight against violence committed to women and girls. That's according to Minister of Gender Affairs and National Mobilisation Frederick Stephenson. Speaking to SVG-TV News earlier today, Stephenson says the 4th to 8th periodic report from the Convention to Eliminate All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, 1995 to 2010, is now available.
Vincent and the Grenadines has been doing in terms of ending violence against women. This report would have been accepted by the Parliament by the Cabinet of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and had been forwarded to the United Nations for their approval.
Minister Stephenson said there is also available the National Gender-Based Violence Action Plan, which would be implemented by January 2015. In light of the United Nations Shadow Report, which highlighted the issues of rape and violence against women, Stephenson said, contrary to what is written, his government has been taking serious action through policies to protect women.
We also have approved, and this has been in the workings for just about 2 years, our National Gender-Based Violence Action Plan. And this document was prepared by our own local Dr. Halima de Shong. All of us know Halima was the first recipient of the sports scholarship. She won a netball scholarship and went off to study. And this report was forwarded with a number of activities, an action plan, which has been accepted by the Cabinet and which we as a ministry would roll out in the new year.
The SVG Human Rights Association has expressed concern with the events in Clare Valley last Saturday. The incident resulted in the death of Edgar Cruikshank and injuries to several persons who were present at a political meeting hosted by the opposition New Democratic Party, the NDP. In a media release, the Human Rights Association is calling on the relevant authorities to carry out a thorough and transparent investigation as to the cause of the tragic incident. The association says in light of the incident, it believes a prayer and peace rally is needed to offer healing for those who were affected by the events. The association is calling on all the political leaders to join it in leading the prayer and peace rally, which is scheduled to take place next Thursday, December 18th at the Clare Valley Hat Court from 7 p.m. Police have arrested and charged Antoine Quincy Anthony, 39 years, self-employed of Kittels, for being the driver of motor vehicle P7516, causing the death of Edgar Cruikshank of Kittels on Saturday night. Cruikshank sustained injuries about his body and subsequently died at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital after he was struck by the motor vehicle driven by Anthony. Several other persons were injured in the incident. A 59-year-old security guard of Korea died yesterday at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital from gunshot wounds. According to the police, Renald Bascom received several gunshot wounds about his body sometime yesterday. A post-mortem examination was expected to be performed on the body earlier today. The matter is under examination. CanFest is back for yet another year. So far, the event has gathered over 250,000 cans, which were to be donated to several local charities. At a media conference earlier today, CanFest committee member Jemron Delpesche says the support from the Vincentian community has enabled them to make substantial contributions to assist the local charities, and this year they expect the same amount of support from persons.
CanFest has donated over 250,000 cans since its inception in 2007, and we would have touched almost every village, if not every village here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines over the past 7 years or so since we started, and we intend to continue with that legacy. And this year event promises to be an even bigger and better event. We're here today to just give you an overview as to what will be happening on the night. It's on the 19th of December, and that's a Friday night, next Friday night. We'll be having, as per usual, overseas act. And this year we're going to Jamaica with reggae dancehall artist Chino being the headliner.